I want to go ahead and welcome everybody to this special call board meeting of directors of the Lubbock Chamber of Commerce. We'll have a presentation today from the Imagine Lubbock Together Steering Committee that was appointed by this board in September 2011. We were fortunate enough to have the opportunity for many interested guests today. Here we seem to have a very good group, so thank you all for attending. And as it is our custom in our board meetings, we want to call our meeting to order and introduce to you past Chairwoman Iracema Velasquez to deliver our invocation.
Pray with me. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day that you've given us. Thank you for the recent rains, and thank you for those that are to come. Lord, today I'd like to lift our elected officials to you. Lord, the time that they give for the betterment of our communities at all different levels, sometimes at the expense of their health, their family, their business. Lord, I ask you to honor what they do, not only for us, but for your kingdom. I ask continued blessing on them and their families and their businesses, and continued strength and increased wisdom as they continue making decisions that make an impact on us all. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to come together, join together with one common vision to move forward in our community. I thank you for the food we have partaken, that it may come and nourish our bodies, and we be ever mindful of giving you all honor and glory in everything that we say and do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Iracema. It's always fitting that she gives the invocation. She does such a wonderful job. But also, as a past chairwoman in 2011, that oversaw the beginning of this community and this community-wide visioning process. So, Iracema, thank you. Also, I would like to call Mayor Glenn Robertson to come and reconvene the City Council meeting, as well as Patty Jones to reconvene the county session.
City Council will reconvene in open session.
Thank you very much. Well, we're glad that you could all come and spend time with us today. I think we're going to be in for a treat for this presentation. And hopefully, anything we mentioned about power in Lubbock will be a little bit more positive than what we've heard lately. Besides the mayor, we have several other folks that I'd like to go ahead and recognize today. From Senator Duncan's office, we have Debbie Hansard. County Commissioner Bill McKay. County Commissioner Mark Heinrich. The County Commissioner Patty Jones. And of course, Lubbock Mayor Glenn Robertson. Mayor Pro Tem Karen Gibson. Councilman Todd Klein. Councilman Jim Grote. Councilwoman Latrell Joy. From Texas Tech University, Lawrence Skubanik, the interim provost. From Lubbock Christian University, President Tim Perrin. From LSD Board of Directors, President Steve Massengale. And Friendship ISD Superintendent David Brunman. And Cooper Board President Dave Gillis. Thank you again for attending. Thank you all for coming and to listen to this. And also, I want to go ahead and take this opportunity to thank our donors for their financial support of this effort. Without you, a lot of this really would not be possible. So again, thank you. And also thank you to the Lubbock media for not only supporting us today, but for the last 2 years of this effort. As you know, David Syme and Connie Warden, they've spent many hours, along with their committee, leading the Imagine Lubbock Together visioning effort and strategic planning process for our community. I'll now go ahead and turn it over to them for their planned presentation, so please welcome David Syme.
Good afternoon. Hear me? Hear me now. How's that? Carlos, thanks so much to the Chamber Board for coming together today, and to also provide us this opportunity to get together. This all started with the Chamber. I'd like to first thank the folks who wrote the plan that we're discussing today, and that's the Lubbock citizens. also sponsors, community leaders, elected officials to participate in this process. When we started this, we said, as a committee, this is not about our committee, this is about the citizens of Lubbock. And we're going to open it up so that every person in this community has an opportunity to participate. 366 days ago, many of you and our media friends who are here today attended a news conference where we launched the public input portion of this Imagine Lubbock Together visioning effort. All of the meetings, public forums, online inputs, and events that followed for 9 months gave every Lubbock citizen an opportunity to participate and provide ideas into this plan that they have created. We thank all of the Lubbock citizens who took time to participate. I'd also like to join Carlos in thanking all of our sponsors who helped underwrite this effort. This was a huge undertaking and it would not have been possible without passionate business leaders and organizations that see Lubbock's potential and will not settle for the status quo. What I'm talking about is leaders who have vision and understanding that a bright future for Lubbock and keeping our community competitive takes a proactive approach. I'm thankful that almost 2 years ago, the Lubbock Chamber Board had the vision and fortitude to move forward with Imagine Lubbock Together. Throughout its 100-year history, the Lubbock Chamber of Commerce and its members, comprised of Lubbock business community, have been the catalyst behind some of the best visions, dreams, and progress that Lubbock has realized. This includes things like recruiting farmers to cultivate this area in the early 1900s, bringing the railroad here, dreaming of and then lobbying to have Texas Technological College in Lubbock, establishing the South Plains Fair, and working to have an Army airfield become today's Lubbock Preston Smith International Airport. These things don't just happen on their own without a vision and passion. And on behalf of the Imagine Lubbock Together Steering Committee, the Lubbock business community, and citizens at large, I thank the Chamber for moving forward with this visioning process. Thank you, Eddie, and your staff, and board. Not long after the Chamber Board voted to initiate this process, they appointed a diverse group of passionate and visionary individuals to coordinate this effort that I have grown to consider not only friends, but family over the past year and a half. On behalf of my committee co-chair, Connie Wharton, and myself, thank you, my friends. This Imagine Lubbock Together Steering Committee met virtually every week during the past 18 months to coordinate the process, and we appreciate your hard work and dedication. Would members of the committee that are here please stand and give us an opportunity to thank you. So why are we here today? Back in May at our community report, we presented the 8 key areas and corresponding goals that you told us were priority areas for Lubbock. Today we'll present the final plan in detail that covers how we go about achieving those goals and addressing those elements, including examples of successes that other communities have had in these areas. But guess what? Lubbock has already had some successful early steps that are an outgrowth of Imagine Lubbock Together, and you'll hear more about those later. Finally, we'll wrap up with these steps. Where do we go from here? How can Lubbock keep this a living, breathing process and not just a document that ends up on the shelf? We'll outline actionable steps and accountabilities as we move forward into the implementation phase. When we started this process, we got a lot of questions about what exactly do you mean by vision? Vision is not only being able to see where you're going, to see what's up the road ahead, but to determine where you'd like to be down the road and be proactive in getting there. Those 2,000 folks that made up Lubbock's population 100 years ago had visions, and they knew what their ideal vision of Lubbock down the road would be. They didn't necessarily know how they were going to get there, but any real progress has to start with a dream or a vision. I believe that everyone who made this process possible and helped make up the great turnout we had at our gatherings as well as online has lived up to the legacy of our early leaders. And we congratulate all of you for that. You have helped to communicate to us a clear theme about what you think Lubbock can and deserves to be. This vision is addressed in a plan that covers 8 key elements and 23 recommendations that you'll hear more about today. And we thank you for this plan. Finally, I'd like to thank my Imagine Lubbock Together Committee co-chairwoman, Connie Porter. It's great to have teamed up with Connie to lead this process. She's become a huge key to its success. And now with that, I would ask you to please help me in thanking and welcoming Connie Porter. Connie.
Thank you, David. A little bit more discreet. Thank you, David. I have to say, in working with David Syme, you know, sometimes when you're a co-chair for 2 years, you get very, very close, and that is a wonderful relationship. And I might be inclined to be sorry that I was going to be missing David in the future, but I know the passion he has for this, and I know that all of this means now going forward is that he might not be there right at 8 o'clock, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be dropping in quite a bit. So, David, it's been a pleasure for me also. Thank you. I should tell you that you should not be concerned because I have a mass of paper up here. I am not going to use all of it. I am just going to use a few things as we go through here. What I'd like to begin with is telling you a little bit more, and you're going to hear this over and over and over because it is so key to Imagine Lubbock Together, to tell you a little bit about where we've been and where we're going. As David said, the vision and the plan are the result of the most comprehensive citywide effort ever undertaken in this city. Over 2,100 people participated in person, and over 7,500 people participated electronically. That's amazing. Imagine that. Citizen input represented all parts of our city. We had people from North Lubbock, from East Lubbock, from South Lubbock, and from West Lubbock. We had people literally from all over the city, and we were pleased that as we took names and so forth, we were very pleased that the demographics of the people that showed up at these meetings reflected the demographics of the people in the city. So the vision is well represented by all parts of Lubbock. And particularly to those of you here today, all of you, whether you are with the city, with the county, with an educational institution, perhaps a church, and all the businesses, thank you for all of the help because you all are the partners in this plan. At one point in putting together this presentation, I was going to try to make a list of all of our partners, and guess what? It's everybody in this room and many, many more. So thank you for what you've done in the past, and more importantly, thank you for what you're going to do in the future. A couple of more things to mention when we stepped back and started going through all of these inputs. We found some really interesting things. We found that we are really all more alike than we are different. And maybe that's not a big surprise to a lot of people in this room. But what we found is that nearly everybody in the city cares about downtown Lubbock. Nearly everybody in the city cares about developing Northeast Lubbock. And I can go on and on and on. We found over and over and over again that we are much more alike than we are different. The plan represents the consolidated vision of all the people and organizations that I've just described. And the public and the private sector partners who will be implementing the plan are merely the stewards of this plan. We did not create this document. You did not create this document. All the citizens of Lubbock created the document. We are merely the stewards to see that the vision and the plan are implemented. I want to tell you a little bit now about the mechanics of this and describe what you have in your packets in front of you. The heavy pieces of paper that I brought up here that you do not have in front of you but are contained in the CD in your packet are the vision and strategic plan, which is about 80 pages, and something called an appendix, which is about another 70 pages. These two documents are the result of the last 2 years of our work. So you have a CD in your packet. You also, if you don't want to download that to your computer, there are links on both Imagine Lubbock Together website and the Chamber website. So if you don't want to put all of this on your computer, there are links that you can get to. I want to say just a little bit to tell you what the plan looks like. When we began this effort 2 years ago, as a business person, I expected the vision to be a one-paragraph group of words or maybe a one-liner. That would have been even better. But what I've learned over the last couple of years is that when you create a vision for the city, it is something much, much different. And so what you are going to see in this packet is that instead the vision is actually about 10 pages long, I think 15 pages if I put it all together. And what it is a narrative that describes what all of the people in Lubbock said they would like to see Lubbock be like in the future. So that is the beginning of this. The vision and plan that you have is actually divided into 5 parts. There is an introduction, there is the vision, there is the process, which describes how we went about collecting all the information. Then there is the strategic implementation plan itself that is divided into the 8 key elements that you're going to hear a little bit more about today. And then finally, there is an implementation matrix. So again, 5 pieces to the plan. We put this plan together, this document together, such that if someone were to come to the city, or if there's someone who, by some chance, has not heard anything about Imagine Lubbock, that they could take this document and the next one that I will describe, and they would be able to understand what we have done for the past 2 years and what we will be doing going forward. It's a good read. It takes a while. The second document that you have is something called the appendix and the existing conditions report. This 70-page document is just chock full of facts and figures and other information about the city of Lubbock. Some of you may remember that part of what the Imagine Lubbock Together effort was in collecting data and information about the city, so that in one depository we had a great reference that anybody, whether it be an incoming business, whether it be an existing business, would have a place that they could go and find a lot of facts in one place. So that is what the second document is. That is also contained in your CD, and it is also on the website. So those are the documents that you have with you today. What I'd like to do now is I would like to go through our 8 key elements, and I would like to introduce the individual on our committee who is going to be the lead in going forward as we implement the vision. I'm going to ask that individual to stand, and I'm just going to make one statement about what that key element is. And I'm going to remind you that the individual on the ILT committee, the Imagine Lubbock Together committee, is going to be working with, again, with many of you in this room who will be the partners in actually executing the implementation. So number one is arts and culture. This is going to be led by Kathy Gilbreth and Don Kerrigan. Kathy and Don, would you all stand? In just a moment, you're going to be hearing a little bit more about this, but in a nutshell, in one sentence, Kathy and Don are going to expand and improve Lubbock's role as a cultural center. And boy, there are some exciting things going on in that arena today. The second element is basic and fundamental services, led by Mayor Pro Tem Karen Gibson. Karen, would you stand? I'm a little jealous of Karen. She just got back from the Caribbean today or yesterday. You can see up here the areas that this covers. It is energy, water, mobility, health, and safety. We spent a lot of time in the Imagine Lubbock Together committees trying to decide whether this is something that should be a part of the plan or not, because obviously the Imagine Lubbock Together committee does not have any direct responsibility or accountability over this. However, what we, and our constant compass in this is that the people of Lubbock care very deeply about their fundamental services, so how could it not be part of the plan? And that, I think I have to say, was a turning point for our committee, where we realized that in fact there were going to be many, many things that would not be our direct responsibility, but that needed to be part of the overall plan. And I think that's really when all of us on the committee began to really, really understand the meaning of the partnerships going forward. Karen, thank you for what you've done. And Karen, by the way, is one of those who every Friday morning showed up, so thanks. The next element is beautification and image. I'm going to leave this in the short term. We will be asking another committee member to do that shortly. That charge is to create an attractive and inviting community that fosters a positive image. The fourth element is downtown, led by Jim Gilbreth. Thank you, Jim. And he doesn't have a big job. We're just going to ask him to revitalize the core of downtown Lubbock. So we expect a full report next meeting, Jim. Thank you. The next element is economic development, led by John Osborne and Charlie Wall. Their charge is to develop bold strategies to achieve comprehensive economic development goals. And I have to say, with John, as you all know, the CEO of LEDA, it has been wonderful having him on this committee. And in fact, his committee put off doing some of the final work on their strategic plan so that they could be sure that it was linked to Imagine Lubbock Together. John, thank you for that. And Charlie, thank you. The next one, our next element is education. That will be led by Adrian Cozart and Kathy Allen. Their work is to prepare students to be productive citizens. Just another small task. Next is entertainment and recreation. That will be led by Rob Allison. Rob? Rob actually has the fun job. He gets to expand shopping. Thank you, Rob. Dining, recreation, and entertainment options. And the final element is neighborhoods. That will be led by David Langston and Jorge Ramirez. Thank you all. And I have to add, along with David, my thanks to this committee. There has just never been a greater group of people to work with. Thank you all. One of the things that has happened over the last couple of years is that as Imagine Lubbock Together has been off putting together this vision and plan, you know, we're very, very aware that was not happening in a vacuum. And in fact, there were, in some cases, many wonderful things going on when this effort was started, and in fact, there are some wonderful things that have been created by this effort. One of the things that I think is the hardest point to get across to people about Imagine Lubbock Together is that we are simply, again, the stewards of a plan, and this plan needs to be inclusive of all of the different significant things that are going on in this city, because it is important that each of these 8 elements that I have described know what each other are doing. And in fact, many of those 8 efforts actually overlap with one another. You really can't talk about education without talking about neighborhoods. And it goes on and on and on. The linkages between these 8 elements is huge. So some of the successes that we're going to be talking about as we go forward have been in the works for many years. And some people will say, well, that's not Imagine Lubbock Together. Yes, it is, because Imagine Lubbock Together is the entire city, and it is the accumulation of all the things that the citizens have said they want to see in the future. Some of the successes are new, and that's good, because part of the charge of Imagine Lubbock Together is to bring groups together, to form new organizations, to make things happen, to implement the matrix. So some of it will be new. Some are the work of the ILT committee, but are an important part of the vision. So again, this vision and this plan links partners, they link goals in a dynamic, ever-improving effort. The vision and plan are not static, and somebody's going to kill that slide. Mobile points on a graph, but a living, changing document that constantly reflect the dynamic nature of our city. We thought what would be appropriate today would be to share with you some of the great things that are going on in the city today. And you're going to notice that in one instance, one of these has been going on for a long time, another one's new, and another one is gaining speed as we go forward. And this just shows you the type of thing that we can see when we all imagine Lubbock together. I'm going to ask, first of all, Tim, if you would come up here and tell us a little bit about Lubbock and what's going on there.
Thank you, Connie. For over 20 years, the citizens of Lubbock have wished for a state-of-the-art performance hall. It should come as no surprise that when the citizens imagined together that this same idea came to the top. This effort, facilitated by the Chamber of Commerce, aligns itself perfectly with the mission of the Lubbock Entertainment and Performing Arts Association. You might remember that I served as chairman of the Chamber last year, and we helped to facilitate a study, a needs assessment and feasibility study by Garfield Troll. I now have the privilege of serving as chairman of LEPA. I don't know which of those jobs are frying pan or which job is fired, but there are days it gets a little warm. As you know, we started with gifts of $10 million each from the CH Foundation and the Helen Jones Foundation. But I want to share with you our next gift. It was $100. A local citizen came to us with a check for $100 and said, that check says to me, I believe in what you're doing, I believe in the need for this project, and I believe in Lubbock, Texas. And I can assure you that $100 was no less significant to him than $10 million was to these foundations. And we appreciate that very much. And that $100 is going to be no less significant to our success. We seek to reestablish Lubbock as a hub of entertainment and cultural arts in the community and in this region. We will serve hundreds of square miles in about 60 counties. So it's important to announce that we've also received a donation from one of the foundations in Abilene. I think that's very significant that we have support from our community partners around the area. Most recently, we received a land grant from the city of Lubbock. LEPA had always targeted the DPS site as the most desirable location for this new facility, and it fits with downtown redevelopment. By a unanimous 7-0 vote last week, the City Council made that a reality. Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the Council, you make critical decisions every day, but I think you'll look back in years to come at July 23rd, 2013, and say this was the night that we made a change in the skyline of downtown Lubbock. So there you have it. To wrap it up, we have 11 members on our board. We have 2 staff people helping us. Kathy Gilbert is doing a tremendous job fundraising. Rob Allison is helping us to negotiate through the landmines of such an important and bold project. I know that we'll be back together very soon as we start announcing other donations, other gifts, other activities, other successes of LEPA. In the meantime, if you're under 35, you can follow us on Twitter, _LEPA, Facebook. We have a Facebook site, and LEPA.org. If you're over 35, just give me a call. We'll be glad to help you out with the activities that are going on. And if you have an extra $100 in your pocket, I've got a little tent right outside. We can wait for you. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim, and congratulations to you and everybody on the LEPA board. Next, I'd like to ask Jim Gilbert to come up. I told you he was going to be really busy on downtown Lubbock, and he wasted no time. So, Jim, former city councilman, welcome.
I want to thank Connie and David for all your leadership on this entire process, and I also want to thank Chairman Morales and the Chamber of Commerce for providing this venue today, but more importantly for serving as for your initiative to kick off this planning process. I think it's going to be something that's going to be very, very important for the city of Lubbock to come in the years to come. There's a new company in town that I want to talk to you today about, and this company was the brainchild of our mayor, Glenn Robertson. There's Glenn over there. About I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, something like that, Glenn invited myself, Robert Taylor with United Supermarkets, Dan Pope with Benchmark Business Solutions, and Mike Davis with Cisco Foods into his office to share with us an idea that he had. And he said something to the effect, and of course I'm paraphrasing, he said, most of the stuff that's gone on in Lubbock so far, downtown Lubbock so far, has been from the public sector. We've been funding some planning that the McDougalls have so ably been in charge of. There's been some grants made, et cetera, et cetera. But he said, with the exception of the people that actually own some property in downtown Lubbock, there's been no private investment made in downtown Lubbock from the outside. And he said, why don't you guys think about forming a for-profit corporation with the sole purpose of helping provide a catalyst to redevelop downtown Lubbock. And we sat around, Mayor, I don't know, an hour or so, and we brainstormed and we thought about different things that we could do, different things that we could bring to the party. And the 4 of us decided that was in fact a really good idea. And we then set out to bring in 9 people to serve as our board of directors to try to get a new business kicked off, a for-profit corporation called the Lubbock Downtown Development Corporation. We put together a board, as I said, of 9 members. The board includes Connie Wharton. Connie is the chairperson of the board. David Alderson is the secretary of the board. Our only paid hired gun is Rob Allison. Rob is a retired assistant city manager who was responsible for business development, among a lot of other things related to the city of Lubbock. And Rob is our president. Robert Taylor with United Supermarkets is on our board. Mark Bass with Pennington Bass. Kevin McMahon, a CPA here in town. Rick Dykes with Rager Dykes Autos. Mark Griffin with the Rick Griffin Companies. Dan Pope with Benchmark, and myself. We're presently in the process of capitalizing this new corporation. We have somewhere north of 30 shareholders already, and we're hopeful that we'll have the company properly capitalized by the end of the summer. We plan to, among other things, take a lot of the hard work and the vision that's been done by the McDougalls as the master developers for downtown Lubbock and use a lot of their plans as a template to go forward. There's a lot of neat stuff going on in downtown Lubbock right now. You've probably heard that MTS is moving their operations back downtown. Centennial Bank has recently completed a great new renovation of the old IBM building. They're moving in there. There's a lot going on in downtown Lubbock. And it's our intention with private funds to help serve to catalyze the redevelopment of downtown Lubbock. There are many of our shareholders in the room today. We appreciate your support. And if any of you have any interest or you'd like for me to answer any questions, I'd be happy to do that after this. So, again, thanks to the Chamber, Connie, David, and everybody that served on the Imagine Lubbock Task Force. As we were going through the planning process, it seemed that everybody that had input said something about the importance of redeveloping downtown Lubbock. It's one of those things that when John Osborne brings somebody in from out of town to show the city, normally they skirt downtown Lubbock for obvious reasons. We want to make downtown Lubbock a place that John can be proud to bring new companies that may be interested in coming into Lubbock and use that as a showplace. So with private funds, we're looking forward to helping with the process and helping with the strategic plan for the city of Lubbock. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jim. The third example that we have here as to how this vision is going to be implemented comes in the area of education and neighborhoods. David Langston, would you please come up and share with us? David, as you all know, is a former mayor and committee member.
Thank you, Connie. As Connie and David shared with you, this whole process has emanated from the citizens. It's emanated also from nonprofits, government entities, and private individuals, and neighborhood associations that have all gathered together and given input into what is important to them about Lubbock. It's a collaborative process. This implementation process that we're talking about, as was mentioned by Connie, is something that has a lot of overlap. How can you talk about economic development unless you talk about job skills? How can you talk about economic development and education unless you talk about people in the neighborhoods and how they're going to be impacted by it? So I want to talk to you about some of the things that were already underway and that we are able to have partners that now can come together and add a new focus on efforts that have been a dream for the citizens of Lubbock and the institutions of Lubbock for a long time. I don't know about you, but to me, education is the key to a better life and a higher standard of living and the quality of life that we all want for ourselves, our families, and for all citizens. The Imagine Lubbock Together visioning and strategic planning process identified education and jobs and workforce as goals for the community. The key planning statement with regard to these is to prepare students to be productive students, to be productive citizens and workers. And one of the things that we kept in mind is that to have a true, complete education, it really needs to be from early childhood into the transition, either into the college, where they can get the college degrees and higher degrees of education, or directly into the workforce so that they have the skills for the jobs of the 21st century. Steps identified in this vision and strategic plan cover the critical need to work collaboratively between schools, businesses, and economic development institutions to reach the ultimate goal. Let me show you how this works. We have asked the Community Workforce Partnership to collaborate on this critical goal for our community involving the development of a regional technical training center. We all know that we need to have workers, we need to have laborers that can fill the jobs for the industry that we want to bring to our community. If you read any study today, from the New York Times to the academic journals, they all tell you that the key is going to be to have enough workers that have the skills that we need. Well, the Community Workforce Partnership is comprised of community leaders, business professionals, and workforce and economic development specialists who have developed a shared vision for the region to advance career and technical education and develop a fully trained workforce. The membership consists of Workforce Solutions, the Chamber, the Lubbock Economic Development Alliance, South Plains College, and local school districts and higher institutions of education. The Community Workforce Partnership has taken on the task to create a regional advanced career and technology center to integrate career and technology education with existing education programs. CWP members recently conducted a facilitated planning exercise that included prioritization of efforts to start this process. Incumbent worker training, identification of target occupations, and industry clusters, along with Texas Tech University long-distance learning, were included as mandatory considerations in this process. The Chamber, Workforce Solutions, and Lead Awards have all provided their backing and support to develop what will be a regional center or training for kids that won't necessarily end up in college, but if they decide to go through this program and want to enter college, they will be better prepared to do so. We want to develop a East Regional Career and Technology Center with this Community Workforce Partnership group that will serve some of the other independent school districts in our community, expand the Byron Martin Center, and make the Regional Career and Planning Center at Reese an example for the rest of the state of Texas and indeed the nation. Another area involving education and neighborhoods where the stars seem to be aligned for us to achieve significant progress is in the area of education. As you may know, the Texas Tech College of Education was recently awarded a $24.5 million Promise Neighborhood federal grant to be distributed over the next 5 years to provide wraparound services to support and improve student learning and focus social services and community resources toward improving and stamping out illiteracy in the northeast quadrant of our city. We want improved math, reading, and comprehension skills. This important initiative is called the East Lubbock Promise Neighborhood Initiative. It's a partnership of the Lubbock Independent School District, Texas Tech, the Tech Health Sciences Center, and multiple community partners including Covenant Health System, South Plains Food Bank, United Supermarkets, and United Way of Lubbock. Are you getting the idea about the type of collaboration that must be part of this process in order for it to be successful? The effort working in the area of education to prepare students to be productive citizens, however, overlaps with another area of our focus, neighborhoods, strengthening existing neighborhoods. Our goal here is to strengthen existing neighborhoods, realizing that little progress can be made to increase education achievement absent the support of residents in the neighborhoods. The Lubbock United Neighborhood Association is organizing a community-wide effort where the residents of affected neighborhoods will work together to ensure all students achieve their full potential. We want parents, teachers, and students, and the businesses and community organizations within the affected areas all to be part of the process. LUMA is encouraging all of its neighborhood associations to focus on achieving 3 goals that are closely aligned with the Promise Grant Initiative. 1, to develop the health and well-being community. 2, increasing safety and reducing crime. And 3, cleanup and beautification. We believe these are 3 laudable goals that everybody can get behind. This is the story of implementation with regard to regional training, education, and neighborhood. We encourage all citizens to participate.
Thank you so very much, David. My goodness. You know, there's a part of me that says you should just sit down now and stop, but we will not. what you just heard today with these 3 different examples of efforts going on in the city is exactly what Imagine Lubbock is all about. In some cases, we are taking, that there are existing things that have gone on for a number of years, and I'm sitting here and I'm looking at Kay Sanford and I'm thinking about all the wonderful work that she has done for years and years and years in preparing for the Performing Arts Center. I can sit here and look at the McDougals and I'm always aware of all the great things that have been done in the Overton area and in the downtown area. And the list goes on and on and on. Part of our challenge in Imagine Lubbock Together will be building on those strengths. Part of our challenge will be developing new entities, new committees, new whatever it takes to get the job done. As far as next steps, let me tell you a little bit about specifically what we're going to be doing. We will be executing the implementation matrix that when you go and when you get to about page 55 in the plan, at the very end, there is a summary section that gives you step-by-step items as to what each committee is going to be focusing on next. We will be meeting with all of our community partners, most of you who are represented here today. Where necessary, we will be creating new task forces, committees, groups to begin the next phase of planning and execution. Where necessary, we will be joining with others who are already engaged in some of the things that you will see in the implementation matrix. We will be developing specific tasks, measures, milestones, funding options, whatever is necessary to execute those items in the implementation matrix. And very importantly, we will be reporting back to the public on a quarterly and annual basis. The role of Imagine Lubbock Together in all of this is to keep the flames of the vision burning and to maintain fairness and accountability throughout the plan implementation. You met the chair people today of each of the 8 key element areas. Each of those folks will be working again, and some of you know who you are, some of you don't yet, with all of our partners in each of those 8 areas to implement the implementation matrix. Our job will be communicating in meetings like this today, in keeping the public interest high, and most importantly, in reporting back. That's what we're going to be doing over the next some number of years. You know, as I stand here today and recognize again that it was almost 2 years ago that this effort was started, it started me thinking, and I hope you all will indulge me for just a moment, but I'd like to take a chairman's prerogative and I'd like to reflect just a little bit and make a couple of comments about the process as a whole. Nearly 2 years ago, the concept of Imagine Lubbock Together was born. If you are a believer in defining moments, and I'm one of those, the moment came at the 2011 Chamber Board retreat. At the end of the retreat, a highly respected business leader and CEO of one of Lubbock's largest businesses said, there is not a comprehensive plan for the city of Lubbock, and I cannot in good conscience ask my board to relocate more jobs here until there is one. Skip ahead 2 years. Today, 2 years later, a comprehensive plan for the city of Lubbock exists. Imagine that. Thanks to one person who said the right thing at the right time to a group of committed business people in the city. Those business people immediately formed partnerships with the city, with the county, school districts, and so on, and crafted the plan that you're taking home with you today. Imagine that. That does not mean that nothing was happening in the last 2 years. Great things were going on. Texas Tech enrollment and $1 billion campaign, the Marcia Sharp Freeway, a well-developed long-term water plan for the city of Lubbock, and a group of dedicated, passionate people who for years had been trying to get a performing arts center off the ground. What had been missing, perhaps, is the synergistic effect of a well-thought-out and inclusive city vision and plan created by our citizens throughout the city. They told us that some things were missing, like a dynamic, revitalized downtown, like a welcome sign into the city, that some of our neighborhoods needed strengthening, that the need for basic and fundamental services will always be important to nearly everyone. And they told us that they want a city that cares about social equity and takes care of those in need. They want educational opportunities for all children. And they want a safe place to live. And they told us thousands and thousands of times. Imagine that. So who is the us that they keep telling? The Imagine Lubbock Together Committee and our partners are simply stewards of the plan created by the people of Lubbock. We are individuals who volunteer our time to make Lubbock a better place. When you read the vision and plan, and it's going to take you some time, you will no doubt be amazed at the number of partners who have been and will continue to collaborate to make this plan a reality. One of the characteristics of a great vision and plan is that they are dynamic. They will continue to grow, to evolve, to change as citizens change. The goals are targets and aspirations of what we want to achieve together. Imagine that. What the ILT plan and committee members and partners will do is to bring focus to these efforts so that all members of the community are aware of them, hopefully can support them, and together we commit ourselves as a city to bring the necessary resources to achieve them. What it doesn't do is take away the tough community decisions about the ways and means of achieving the objectives set out in each of the 8 elements. When the various community partners come together and agree upon a project or a course of action that we want to pursue, the democratic processes to get the project underway, and that will be necessary to fund them, will have to come before the City Council, the Board of Trustees, County Commissioners, to get the ordinances passed, or the elections called, or whatever else it takes. Every citizen retains the right at every step of the way to let their voices be heard, both those that agree and those that disagree. The Imagine Lubbock Together plan is not carved in stone. There will be plenty of opportunities along the way to make necessary adjustments. Imagine that. Undoubtedly, the resources are going to come from a variety of sources. These might include private foundation grants, investment by private capital, volunteer donations, and local, state, and federal funds as well. If we need a new water source or other fundamental service, there may need to be a bonding authority approved by the voters. If we wish to develop a park and there are funds available, we will have to pursue them through the appropriate application process. And just as with the East Lubbock Promise neighborhood, if there are federal grants that we can provide, the appropriate community partner will apply for them. Imagine that. You know, when you step way, way back, the Imagine Lubbock Together plan is consistent with the unique way that Americans always make progress. It is part of a long tradition of the American can-do spirit from the time our country was conceived. You see, that's the way we've always done it in America. We see something that needs to be done, and we just do it. We are the most resilient, resourceful, and relentless people in the world. That's the way the early pioneers did it, who carved Lubbock out of the prairie. That's how the early settlers built cotton gins and formed the electric co-ops. They worked together and made it happen, and so will we. Imagine Lubbock together. So today, we find ourselves at another crossroad. We have an amazing opportunity to make this an even better city, thanks to the thousands of people who shared their ideas and their hopes and their dreams. Do you know what Albert Einstein said about imagination? He said, imagination is even more important than knowledge. And we have something else. We have opportunity. There has never been a brighter time in our city. You can feel the energy. Ken Hance recently said about Texas Tech, it is our time. I believed it. I still do. I also believe we are seeing an optimism and excitement throughout the city that's contagious. We have a number of bright young coaches at Texas Tech who could have gone to many other places in this country. They chose to come home to Lubbock. Imagine that. We are on the verge of seeing a long-awaited performing arts arena, a baseball hall of fame, new restaurants, and many, many more things. There has never been a more opportune time to imagine Lubbock together. Thank you.
David and Connie, thank you very much for organizing this. Thank you to your committee for all the hard work you've done in making this a reality. And on behalf of the Chamber, I can tell you that you have our support long into the future of this effort. And as a lifelong citizen of Lubbock, Texas, I tell you I'm excited to know that this is a community-driven effort. This is a citizen-led effort. And I'm excited to know that there are other Lubbock citizens out there that support the same idea I have. It is to make Lubbock a better place to live, a better place to do business. Imagine that. Now you're right. Just trying to add to your thunder, but thank you very much. Okay, I'll now turn it back over to the agenda for the Board of Directors. I want to consider a resolution in support of the Imagine Lubbock Together vision and strategic implementation plan. A resolution was submitted to you previously for your consideration, but for those of you that want to hear it again, I'm now going to read it in its entirety for the whole audience. Whereas the Lubbock Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors voted unanimously in September 2011 to initiate a community-wide visioning effort, and whereas immediately upon unanimously supporting this visioning effort, the Board of Directors announced this decision to the public in a news conference along with former Mayor Tom Martin. And whereas an Imagine Lubbock Together steering committee of diverse Lubbock business citizens was appointed by the Board of Directors in October 2011, and whereas the Imagine Lubbock Together process was initiated and made possible with support from the business sector and employers with a vision and passion for Lubbock's future. Whereas, beginning in July 2012, Imagine Lubbock Together launched an unprecedented opportunity for all Lubbock citizens to frame, design, and create a vision and a roadmap for Lubbock's future through a 9-month public input period. And whereas, in October 2012, Mayor Glenn Robertson and the Lubbock City Council unanimously passed a City of Lubbock proclamation marking the week of October 15th through the 19th, 2012 as Imagine Lubbock Together Week in Lubbock, and October 18th as Vision Summit Day in Lubbock, encouraging all Lubbock citizens to attend and participate in this important gathering. And whereas all of the Lubbock City Council and Lubbock County Commissioners Court participated in several public input sessions and discussions during the public input process. And whereas the vision has led to an accountable and specific strategic plan, including actionable items and responsibilities for implementation. And whereas the Imagine Lubbock Together effort now enters into the implementation phase. Therefore, be it resolved that the Lubbock Chamber of Commerce does thank the citizens of Lubbock, businesses, and employers who made this effort possible, the Lubbock City Council and the Lubbock County Commissioners Court for their support and participation in Imagine Lubbock Together, and also thanks and congratulates the Imagine Lubbock Steering Committee for overseeing this unprecedented effort that gave every Lubbock citizen the opportunity to help shape Lubbock's future. Further be it resolved that the Lubbock Chamber of Commerce looks forward to the implementation of Imagine Lubbock Together of the plan, and thank those community partners who have agreed to help turn this vision into reality for Lubbock's future. So, I now open the floor for a motion and a second to approve the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve this resolution. All those in the Chamber Board of Directors signify their approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign of opposed. Okay, well, I want to thank you again for your support. Thank you to the Imagine Lubbock Together Committee, their sacrifice, labor, and success for helping grow our community. Thank you for the sponsors that have supported this effort and helping make it a reality, and thank you all for attending today. With there being no further agenda considerations, we are adjourned. Thank you.